Yes, this is Nigel. This is Nigel Heathering. Yes, this is Nigel Herefordshire here for the British News Network reporting regarding the story of the decade, perhaps the story of the week, story of the month, perhaps even the story of the year. It is the American cultural phenomenon known as the graduation party. It's a group of young people, 19 in all, 20 if you count the lone survivor, a group of individuals who attended an online college in New York City, Manhattan, and at the beginning of an entirely new stage of their life, at the commencement of their adulthood, at the very genesis of their journey through this magical world we call Earth, at the initiation and the creation of their own biological and psychological maturation, their entry into the world of adulthood, their ending and their death of their infancy and dependency on adults, parents, and locos parentis in all forms of support. They are, in the existential and economic sense of the word, on their own. It is the fork in the road of all development, of all cultural and personal existential development. It is when you leave the womb. It is when you leave the home. It is when the hero sets off into the journey. And at that flashpoint, at that commencement, that is the cruelest time for a person to be robbed of their future, because it is at that axis between the past and the future, between the young and the old, between the immature and the adult, between the babe and the parent, at that dichotomy where the singularity unifies, is at the graduation night of a college graduate. And at this night, they had a party for 19 of them, 20 if you count the survivor, 20 of them getting together, having revelry, recounting old experiences, reviving old antagonisms, expressing love, expressing hate, expressing their fear of the future and the unknown and uncertainties that come with it. And together, they are an imperfect group, flawed, of course, but they do represent a sort of perfection of this generation. And in the midst of their fears and what they share and their challenges to each other and the twists and turns of their own lives and in the drama and scripts that is their everyday existence, so much even happens at this party. It is all videotaped by persons unknown for reasons unknown. And this videotape ends up with the FBI as well as with the Creative Art Agency, with an agent who had just sold to MTV a show that everybody laughed at, and when it was sent around, the Monday it was sent around a few years ago in Hollywood, when the spec tape of Jersey City, the pilot of Jersey Shore, went out to the studios, they laughed, literally laughed, and the reputation of CIA took a hit. Bobby Lee, the young agent, not very young, but certainly he had not had much success to that point. Well, that was his pet project, and everyone thought it reflected his southern perspective of, which was, they thought, an error, that the common man, that the ordinary individual was something that television needed at this point in the nonfiction genre development of reality television, and no one would take a chance on him except for someone at MTV, and we know what happened with Jersey Shore. That was followed by Buck Wild. But before that, and in the midst of it, was the negotiation by him for the rights to be sold to Comcast, NBC Universal, the rights to the graduation party. Now, these rights were owned by an entity formed by the families of the dead ones. Basically, after this party, there was a fire, and we don't know if it was accident or also we don't know if it was suicide or homicide. We don't know what happened, except there was one survivor, and he was questioned extensively. It turns out that at first he was very suspected to be the one that was guilty of this crime. But soon it was revealed that he probably was not the one. He was just a victim of his own broken heart. He went on to be successful. Anyway, the point is that they began to try to figure out what happened, because one of the girls was the daughter of a U.S. senator. Anyway, the British News Network is here to report that it seems as though a stunning piece of new evidence has been introduced. Yes, it seems today we have gotten preliminary reports that a piece of footage, along with a letter from one of the individuals supposedly who had died at the party, one of the girls named Stacy has sent this material, and it is an excerpt clip we are going to show right now, and it's going to reveal to you what we believe is very incriminating evidence about the authenticity of the entire graduation party, documentary cinema verite representation and verification by the filmmakers who claim to be documentary filmmakers. Anyway, here's the clip. Now, this clip reveals that these are not necessarily graduates of Chomsky University. They seem to be actors. This is a bombshell of unmitigated proportions, and right now we are going to try to get word from both CAA and Comcast Universal regarding this. Obviously, there's going to be a slew of lawsuits. There's going to be criminal charges. This is fraud of the deepest level. This is a felonious act, and yet here's the most ironic twist. Despite this revelation, Drudge has just reported that the graduation party Q rating has doubled, and the interests in it for the reruns. There was a rerun this evening, even after the story broke on Drudge, and it went up 38% viewership. So they're aware that it's fake now. The people out there, the viewing public, and they're not turning. They're now tuning in more and more to see, I guess,